Hello and welcome everyone. This is the final part of the All 12 Signs video series for the nodes in Aries and Libra. I will be reading for Gemini and Taurus in this video. My name's Chloe. I work with card divination, astrology, and I channel energies through my body. It's just one of the ways that I channel. As you can see, my hands are moving around right now. This is bringing in energies from different dimensions to help us heal, help clear stuck energy, and open up portals between the cosmos, our higher self, and our conscious mind to get us in alignment with our soul's journey. Right, so this is about the nodes. They moved into Aries and Libra on the 17th of July and will be leaving on the 12th of January 2005. In this series, in each introduction, apart from the Cancer video, because that got split into two with the Leo and Cancer, in every introduction I've brought in different themes linked around this big transit. So it's an 18-month transit. It's dealing with eclipses. This is big, intense energy. Part one, I did a collective reading for the North Node in Aries. I talk a bit more about Aries and the North Node. Part two, the South Node in Libra. Part three, about eclipses themselves. And four was about Chiron. So Chiron's in Aries. This is going to be having a big impact on the North Node. And part five, that was about famous people who have the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. And in this video, I will be reading the cards. So with every transit series I do, I'll pull some cards from different decks setting up the altar, and these have been on the altar the whole time. They've been just below the camera shot, been charging the main tarot deck I use with them, and I wanted to leave it till last to go through the messages to see if it's correlating with what came up, and get an understanding of collectively what's going on, but coming from different decks that isn't just the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot. So I'll be doing that in the sort of main bit of this introduction. But I did want to just say, do check out the other introductions. They're going to give you a more well-rounded understanding of how this energy is showing up for you over the next 18 months. It is a big deal. It is eclipses. It's in cardinal energy. So we're instigating something here. We're instigating a whole new cycle for us all, which I love. Right. So I recommend, if you know your time of birth, to go to your rising sign. So that's falls in the first house where your ascendant is. I work with the whole house system, so each sign falls in the whole of a house, and the astrology will link into the rising sign. This doesn't invalidate you looking at any other sign in your chart. We have all 12 in our natal chart. You might want to look to where your sun or your moon is to get a holistic understanding of how this is showing up for you, as well as your Venus and your Mars, because we're dealing with Aries and Taurus and Libra here, and they are ruled by Venus and Mars, or where your nodes are, or any other sign. Just whatever you do, look to where that sign is in your natal chart, look to the house that it's in, see the themes of that house and apply those themes to the messages that come through. It's as if that sign has now moved to the first house. In these readings, in these general readings, I focus on you, right? So you are the most consistent thing in your life. I like to focus on the inner work. The reason why I do this channel, why I want all the cards on the table, is because for me personally, I need a lot of context and a lot of nuance. That's my Virgo sun. That the more we have the context and the details of how this astro weather is showing up for us, the more that we're able to make informed, autonomous decisions about how we want to respond to it. How do we want to engage and learn about the lessons that come through if it might be a particularly difficult transit, and then be able to take a step back with that perspective and realize, that's not going to be forever. This isn't like a huge shift in your energy where that's a permanent thing. We can get some perspective. We can then start to utilize it and work with it and co-create with the energy, right? It's pretty crazy out in the world. It's pretty overwhelming. There's so much unintegrated energy out there. Trauma, fear, shame, rejection, abandonment. It's all very loud on the main stage right now. And it's unintegrated, right? When we don't integrate our trauma, when we don't integrate our limiting beliefs and really sit with them and work with them. That's why I focus on the inner work and you, and peel back those layers. The more that energy gets really loud because it's not seen, so it'll just burst into your life in order to show itself to you. Okay, so it's really difficult in this world right now to be like, what can I possibly do to help any of this situation? So it can be very overwhelming. What you can do is look to yourself, be in observation, be mindful of your thoughts, actions, and deeds. Sit with them. Don't shame your emotions, don't shame situations, but realize all things do pass, right? And the more that we do that, the more that we integrate ourselves. We are nuanced, multifaceted, multidimensional beings. We have core principles, but we are constantly in flow. It is about holding space for paradoxes and realizing that you have the capacity to feel many different things and have many different opinions about one particular situation. And that's okay. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to learn and grow, right? So that's why I focus on the inner work, because the more that we integrate on an individual level, the more that not only does that have a ripple effect in your life, the people around you, but the collective, that integrated energy becomes more and more available. I mention this because, you know, with the tarot and with astrology, with the tarot, if court cards show up, that can be very much linked into other people. There's a lot of cards linked into love that could be about love or work, but not everyone's looking for that. So I like to focus on you. I will sometimes bring those themes in if it seems quite loud, but the way I communicate in these videos is about you and what energy is around for you to work on. If you had a more specific question about a particular scenario, do go check out my description box where my email address is. I do lots of different things. I like to incorporate lots of different mediums. Send me a message and I will get back to you. I like to cater to the client, so we'll work through that and then we'll figure out something. So that would be a more specific thing, because sometimes with the astrology it can very much be other people showing up in your life, but I also see it as your chart is all about you, and it's also not all about you, right? It has the capacity of being both things at the same time. Remember I said paradoxes are the name of the game with this universe, right, and how we want to work with it. Right, is there anything else that I wanted to say? Right, so far in the whole of this series, the energies that I channel have wanted to do a lot more energetic work. They've wanted to use the cards in a lot more varied way. And for a good chunk of each of these videos, there's been way more energy work than I would normally do in a transit video. This has made nearly all of the videos at least an hour and a half long. I know this is really long. I appreciate your time and energy is very, very precious. When I finish this series, I'm going to go back through the videos and I'm going to timestamp the beginning and the end of the energy work. I've made sure that if I get any channeled messages that come through while I'm doing that, that I will mention it when I start to bring in the tarot after I've finished talking about the astrology. So I talk about the astrology, I do energy work, and then I bring in the tarot and bring it all together. So I will be putting in those timestamps. It's also really easy just to skip. I'll be holding up one card when I begin to start to talk about the tarot. So you'll be able to just skip regardless of whether the timestamps are there or not yet already. Yeah, I don't think you're missing out on the energy work if you don't watch it, right? So I never want people to feel like they're missing out on a situation. So I've just, because we're dealing with eclipses, I've felt really called to let the energies do what they want to do. This is kind of what they do when I do personal readings or when I do readings for myself. Like, they like to tell a story, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense to our cognitive minds, because remember, we're dealing with energies from different dimensions. They're working with different energy levels, and they're helping us heal. Thank you all for being here, new and returning viewers alike. This is a big transit. I'm feeling really good about this one. And it's my personal opinion that all the planets, all the transits, all the aspects, all the signs, all the asteroids, absolutely everything, they are all in cahoots with one another to help us evolve and grow. It's just what we look to. How do we observe these situations? It's not about denying grief, pain, frustration, anger, resentment, all of those difficult emotions that's part of the human condition, right? Don't shame them, but do you need to let them take over, right? Can you hold space for them and still remain have a sense of peace and calm despite the good, the bad, and the ugly of what's going on in your life? That's what's brought me peace, despite difficult things happening, of still just being able to go, hey, oh, hello, anxiety, that's here, you're here, what do you have to say to me? Do you just want to hang out? And then you're able to just sort of detach from it. Anyway, right, I'm going off too much. I'm now going to read through these amazing cards, which I did it just before this video, and it's really lovely to see the parallels that have been coming up in the channeled readings that I've been doing, and also the interpretation with the nodes. So I'm just going to pause for a second and then I'll restart, and I'll go through these cards and then I'll get on to Gemini and then Taurus. Okay, so all the decks that I use are in the description box if any of them takes your fancy. This particular deck is by an amazing woman, an amazing artist called Kim Krantz. Her decks are phenomenal. The words that she writes in them are so inspiring, and the visually just they are a delight to the eyes. They're a little bit annoying to have on. I've been having them like this, and the hexagon shape is a phenomenal healing tool, but doesn't balance very well. Anyway, regardless of that, this tickled me when this came out when I was shuffling the cards. This is the Great Serpent. So the nodes are the head and tail of the dragon. It's an acknowledgement of that dragon serpent energy that is very prevalent in so many of our cultures and so many civilizations throughout history. And this is representing the sort of the all within the one, right? The snake eating its own tail. The fact that we are the universe manifest, but we are the individual, that we are constantly in a state of life, death, and rebirth. So I thought it was very fitting that this was one of the main cards that came up, that was wanting to show itself for the nodes being moving sign. And this is the Uberos, the great serpent, the tail eater, the guardian, the quantum realm. So I'm going to be reading from these books because there's such great wisdom in these words. And this is the first card, so this is sort of setting up the stage of acknowledging that the head and tail of the dragon, the great serpent, has shifted signs, and how are we working with this energy. The Uberos is the all-encompassing glyph of the alchemical process. The hungry snake bends itself around you in a gesture of protection and guardianship, giving you the space and safety to participate in the work. Anything and everything can be offered into its mouth for transformation. The head of the dragon, where the North Node is very hungry. Where it's what the consumption, the expansion of that energy in that airy space of what are we seeking to transform? What are we striving for? Good, bad, blasphemous, or precious, the materials of our life transmute into gems along the great serpent's spine. Now, interestingly, we've got a square with Pluto until the beginning of January 2024. And Pluto traditionally was not only the king of the underworld, but king of that which was under the ground. So gems and minerals, it's about riches being revealed, treasures being revealed and unearthed. So very interestingly, we've got the gems along the spine in this card, linking into the fact that we've got Pluto squaring, activating a lot of this eclipse energy. It's so funny. I can feel the energies wanting to do some energy work, but I'm obviously holding the book and holding the card. I forgot to mention this is the Wild Unknown Alchemy book deck. Along with your woes, the Uberos engulfs every pair of opposites. So again, that's thinking of the North and the South node, the opposition that we always get with the head and tail of the dragon. What is masculine becomes feminine. What is sky becomes earth. What is past becomes future. So really linking into the fact that a lot of eclipses are very karmic in nature because they're aligning longitude and latitude when the sun and the moon meet. So really fixed moments in time that are unavoidable, that don't have flexibility. So often with the North and South node, people can come into our lives that we've experienced, maybe people from an old part of your life in this lifetime, or certainly people that you've met in past lifetimes, whether you're repeating cycles and helping each other remember skills you've already worked through, or people coming into your life where you've had a soul connection, but now you're about to embark on something new together. So, where was I? When this card appears, you have entered the quantum realm. Everything is a possibility. No one knows the limits of the Uberos. Just when you fell into thinking that your life was straightening out, the snake takes you once again into its gaping mouth for an entirely new trajectory. So appropriate for eclipse energy that can come along and shake up your life. They're rerouting you. They're making sure that you're on your soul's path. So often people can have quite dramatic things happen with eclipses that feel really heavy at the time. But if that hadn't happened, they wouldn't have gone down a different route that was actually serving them. You know, I know that might feel a bit dramatic, and, you know, we don't obviously want big things, dramatic things. We struggle with change, the human species. But when you know that there's a flow, tend and look to the energies that we're working with. And it's the same. I always say this advice with some of the bigger transits is the more that we sort of preempt that energy. And I've been getting the feeling in a lot of the collective readings that we've been doing that anyway. We've had Jupiter move through Aries, so we've really had a lot of support about how to mitigate and manage these eclipse season. That the more that we do the pre-work, the less these changes seem to affect us in a dramatic way. Note that the great serpent eats itself, not others. The work starts and ends with the alchemists themselves. Through this remembrance, the alchemist learns to service the world. That's making me think, I know, I really focus on the inner work on this channel. Like, that is the great work that we can all do that is consistent within all of us. And so the more that we acknowledge that we are being drawn to focus on these two areas of our chart, the more and understand what our response mechanisms to them, how do we truly feel and really work with that, the more that we're able to work with the flow, with instigating new dynamics. Okay, so they've laid these out, and it very much feels like this is to do with Libra, and over here we've got the Aries card. So we're going to look to the star being healing codes. Now this is the Kyle Gray Gateway of Light Activation Oracle. It says important information, wounds are healed, recharging. Now Chiron, who I spoke about in part 4, I did a channeled reading for that, is in Aries, has been Aries for a while. We're going to feel the Chiron energy the whole time, basically, with the whole house system and with the Hellenistic principles. You know, aspects are important and accentuate that energy. But if an energy's in the house, in the sign, and if something else comes into that sign, even if they're really far apart, they're in the same realm, they're in the same house, they know each other, they're hanging out with each other. However, from now until mid-June, the North Node is going to be, and the South Node, but in opposition, is going to be 10 degrees either side of Chiron. So I found that really interesting that it's come up about wounds being healed. Chiron is the wounded healer, right? So we're really working on the medicine. That Chiron energy, the North Node exaggerates, it amplifies, is going to be amplifying our ability to find deep wisdom in those wounds that are linked into the individual. Okay, let me read from Kyle. Star beings exist in multiple forms and come from many different universes, but this card is a gateway that transports us to one of their healing sanctuaries. It is a gateway that is open to many different star beings, and so it doesn't stipulate which cosmic race is coming to us, but we will be receiving healing codes directly from cosmic guides. The healing can be emotional, physical, or spiritual. However it comes, know that it is a great blessing. Now, Chiron was abandoned by his parents. He was rejected by the gods and also by the centaurs, by the mortals. And he received a wound from someone who he really cared about and someone he helped. So he's dealt with a lot of different energetic wounds and physical wounds that he helps us heal. And these often come from past lifetimes as well, with that Chiron energy, that we are going through a great transformational process of healing those wounds and finding the wisdom of that. The message: if the world seems overwhelming or intense at this time, know that it's okay for you to retreat to a safe space to cleanse and recharge your energy. You may feel called to be a healer for others. That's definitely come up in some of the readings where it's not only your healing, but you can help others be empowered by your actions and your embodiment of self. That it's not only, it's a feedback loop between you and the outside world. You may call to be a healer for others and share the healing with the world, but please ensure that you are balanced and filled up with the light first. This is not the time, fire energy, there's a lot of light there. This is not the time for you to sacrifice your own well-being in order to serve others. They're sort of bringing in that dynamic with the South Node in so many of the readings and in the messages that have come through in the way that I work with nodes. It's not about prioritizing one side or the other. It's acknowledging that these two are working together. So light beings are placing their hands upon you now. My hand's just gone over my heart chakra, filling you with divine light that will wash away any blockages or stagnant energy standing in the way of your freedom and wholeness. Freedom and autonomy is very much an energy of Aries. It wants to embody this 3D world for itself in a very personal way of feeling whole with its connection with the outside world. Star beings are channeling healing codes and frequencies into your being, and it's important for you to stay alert for any intuitive guidance about your body so you can be restored to health once more. Very powerful energy that wanted to come through there for us. And very interestingly, we're getting healing in that Aries area of our chart that is calling for a bit of rest, even though that's what we're striving for. So it's always about balance. Even though the North Node is there of what we're reaching for, that can be uncomfortable. It might not be familiar to us. So seeking help as well is not. We're getting help from the cosmos while we're going through this hero's journey. So this is the seed. This is from another Kim Krantz deck. And this is the Wild Unknown Archetypes. Where's the seed? There we go. The beginning, the origin, the pearl. Beginnings come in many forms. So we've gone from the snake of acknowledging the energy that we're working with, and now we've got the seed, the beginning of a new journey. Beginnings come in many forms. They are not always a beautiful seed placed intentionally in nourishing soil. So that's acknowledging difficulties that we've gone through. Origin stories, like any birth story, are complex, surprising, multi-layered, and usually reveal a central image or detail that represents the fully formed being. Simply stated, the end is present in the beginning, or the entire oak tree resides within the acorn. Whether you follow this imaginal theory or not, know that when this card appears, there is potent generative energy all around. It stirs your very insides and usually results in an antsy, impatient feeling, right? We're dealing with cardinal energy. We're dealing with Aries and Libra. This is Yang Day energy. They're wanting to get up and do and instigate and start something new, right? Cardinal energy are the beginnings of the solstices and the equinoxes. They are instigating a new cycle, the seed, the beginning of this. At the beginning of a new cycle, that the acorn, as she's saying, has all the DNA of a tree within it. So even though we're at the beginning of this cycle, we are able to embody energetically the end result. Right, where is it? Pay particular attention to what agitates you, as it's a sure sign of growth to come. You are bumping up against a growth edge. It is from the grit that the pearl eventually comes to be. So cardinal energy instigating things. Try. Very can be Yang Day energy. This is sort of extrovert, going out in the world, action based, needing stimulation, right? Cardinal energy wants to start, go. Seeing what your instinctive responses come up and sit with them, right? Give yourself a bit of pause, even though it's very instinctive, very action based. I would still be mindful and sit with them and see what that's saying to you on a deeper level. And they're just tapping over the heart chakra right now. One of the alchemist's favorite image was the pearl. The irritant over time becomes the treasure. What is your grit? This is really sort of, again, reinforcing the fact that eclipses can be intense. Things can happen that seem very, very dramatic, that are sudden changes. We're not good with change. And that irritation, that frustration, they're like, what on earth is going on? Will actually lead into a situation that is the pearl. This beautiful thing that is formed through a difficult. I'm not saying this is all going to be incredibly dramatic for everyone. It all depends on your chart. It depends on other time timing techniques based on your natal chart. Some cycles you don't even necessarily notice, and some really show up in your face. This is really just calling you to acknowledge that even when big things don't happen, still we can get irritated by the little things. We can work with frustration and annoyance that even though we're instigating things might not necessarily be moving forward in the way that we want them to. Be patient, be mindful, be aware, be playful as well. Okay, so that was another message that really came through, of being playful and making sure we try and find and have a smile on our faces while everything is going on. It's not invalidating the experience or the drama or whatever it is, but certainly allowing space to bring in the happy Buddha, the laughing Buddha, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Try and find a way of enjoying the experience. I know that may sound a bit twisted, but it definitely helps. And this is for the Libra energy. Again, this is the Gateway of Light Activation Oracle from Carl Gray. Soul Star activation, fulfilling soul contracts, remembering who you are. Very interestingly, we've got contracts coming up with Libra. Libra is the Justice card. The law is often linked around contracts, our social contracts with other people. Where are we committed? Making sure, I love how remember who you are. Don't forget that the contract goes both ways. That it all shouldn't be one-sided in your journey, that there should be an acknowledgement of your needs in these contracts. Ooh, okay, they're really hitting over the heart chakra here. These are such beautiful cards. Okay, so through our soul star, we access information and wisdom. Instead of having to move through the dimensions to access this information, we can remain connected at all times and download support as necessary. The Egyptian god Horus appears on the card as our spiritual guide. His hawk head image is said to illustrate his connection to the sun and the moon and the stars. So we've got the sun and the moon, we've got eclipses coming in, linked into this wisdom that we are learning from the eclipses. As a keeper of energetic portals, eclipses are very much portals. I forgot to say that word in the eclipse episode, but it's very much big portal energy to hidden realms. He can help us remember our starry origins, open psychic vision, and connect directly with the wisdom that's held in the stars. Now, the South Node, where Libra is, where the South Node in Libra, but the South Node in general can often be a very spiritual, very esoteric time where we're just a little bit more withdrawn, whereas the North Node can be a bit out in the world, a bit materialistic, and that is not said with judgment. The South Node is this space where we're going inward, we're questioning things, we're figuring out who we are from a deeper level. Okay, they're just sort of moving the card around the heart chakra. Your message. Through your previous journeys, you have learned much about your inner workings of your soul and about the cycles of karma, right? Very interestingly with the South Node, bringing in past lives. As I said, the South Node can bring people into your life who you've met in the past who are helping you remember the things that you've learned on your soul journey. Before this incarnation, you set a powerful intention to remember your divine origins. At this point, you are in a powerful space, for you are remembering who you truly are and you know that you have it within you to make a great difference in your own life, the lives of those you love, and of course the world. This remembering is in alignment with the soul contracts you made before coming to this realm. If you find yourself worrying if you are making the right decision, Libra can often be about anxiety, social anxiety. Have you done the right thing? Are you going in the right direction in terms of your social interaction, the people that you meet, the decisions that you make? If you find yourself worrying if you're ever making the right decisions, know that even if you aren't conscious of it, all that you have chosen so far is in accordance with your soul's evolutionary plan. And when you draw this gateway, you are opening up on higher levels. Now that phrase can be really triggering for some people. Because so many of us have faced really intense trauma in our lives that we can struggle to find rhyme or reason with. It's certainly been a difficult part of my journey of making peace with everything that's happened in my life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I can only say from my own experience and bearing witness to providing counselling for others and seeing that in other people in my life and with clients, that the more that we're at peace with these things, no matter how difficult they are, it's not denying that experience, but the more that we're at peace with it, And realize, for me, I'm very aware of soul contracts, very aware of past lives and that engagement and that cycle of life, death, and rebirth. I find it a little peculiar when people it's a mixture of things. The cycle of life, death, and rebirth, that our soul goes of into other lives, but there is still the energetic transfer of our ancestors very much present. We can have both of those things. That we that the more at peace with that, of like acknowledging that death isn't the final part of this journey, that we do have these soul contracts, we do engage in difficult life lessons and journeys that can take us a little while and can sometimes like really need to be very loud on the main stage in our personal lives to really help us learn. I know I've gone through several repeating life lessons that it took me a really long time to get, and went through a lot of emotional heartache and a lot of despair and depression and anxiety. I came out the other side. And one of the things that really helped me was acknowledging that those people in my life who brought about that trauma or brought about a traumatic response in me, we all signed up for it. We all signed up for it. They were taking one for the team to kind of do some ugly work. And I'm forever grateful for them. And I have so much love and compassion for them. And you see it on the main stage with sort of big figures that go against the moral grain or do things that cause frustration, despair, anger, horrendous things that none of that would mean we wouldn't exist without any of it. And it can bring about great tragedy. And it's unfortunate that we're currently in a cycle where sometimes tragedy is the thing that moves us all as a species. And that's just where we're at. We can wish for better and hope for better and open up space for better, but it's not denying the reality of our current paradigm. Right. Okay. So this card, this is a beautiful card, and it was reaffirming how I look at the nodes. It's not about a separation. It's about, and it just tickled me that the fact that conjunction, you know, the nodes are never in conjunction, but they meet in the middle. Okay, and that's where the conjunction is with spirit. They are always in a state of opposition. And through that opposition, we understand our similarities. That othering, that separation is so we understand ourselves and we see that the world is a mirror and we are, in fact, constantly always in conjunction with one another. Love, divine union, infinity. Conjunction is the greatest alchemical operation of love. During this stage, we witness the miraculous work of two opposites merging to create a unique third form. Sun and moon unite to reveal the entire cosmos. Black and white unite to reveal the spectrum of color. Unlike coagulation, conjunction represents a conscious and benevolent union, one that springs forth from awareness, acceptance, and devotion. I really like those words, awareness, acceptance, and devotion to the energy of the eclipses. Being aware of that energy, being accepting and being in flow of realizing there are some bigger powers going on right now that you can't control. You can't control, but you can control how you respond to them, and being in devotion to the process of what's coming through, and realizing that love is the fundamental of the universe, in my humble opinion. Everything stems from love or the lack thereof. It is not a compromise, but rather an activation, a holding of tensions and presence that allows each of the entities to thrive and express themselves. So rather than exaggerating towards that Aries, though I've talked about this, the sort of potentially dominant, tyrannical energy of Aries, very blunt, not caring about other people's opinions or expectations, which is a wonderful thing. In moderation, right? Everything in moderation, including moderation. It needs to be able to embody itself without diminishing the harmony of the social dynamic, in a way of allowing space for other people to exist. Libra can also be the people pleaser of forgetting yourself. We need to find a balance between the two in order for both of them to thrive. It's not about negating the other in order to serve one. It's about allowing both of those energies to thrive together. Experiencing conjunction is one of the blessings of the human experience, whether the bond is with human, nature, or divinity. Recognize it by the stirrings of your heart and the element of surprise. Now, I love that. The heart, Libra, Venus, very much a heart space. We've got Venus and Leo right now, which is the heart space. And the element of surprise, you know, Aries wants to go forth and explore through novelty and that experience of its own understanding rather than being influenced by other people. Through the opposites arise the infinite. The alchemist is patient and true to their own heart. Do not be fooled by preconceived image of what the conjunction looks like. Love is creative and therefore seeks new forms. I absolutely love that message. Love is creative and seeks new forms. Yes, you can have preferences and ideas of what it is and who you are. And that's defined every moment up until the present moment. Don't let that define what's going on now. Don't let that dictate and govern what your ideas of the future are going to be like. One of my favorite phrases is you can't call it. You just can't call what's going to happen. You can have an idea, you can have a preference, but don't let that bind you. It's not about diminishing those preferences and hiding from them, but it's acknowledging those, but also acknowledging that you are open to change. You're open to that, the universe and its creative field. Remember, we've got the quantum field coming in, of the possibilities that can come your way that may interlink those preferences, but then open up new neural pathways of how you engage with this universe. Okay, I just put the animal over my heart space, which I love. Where is the animal? 97. Okay, so this is for the Aries energy. Not that surprising. We've got Mars. Aries is very feisty. It's the first personal fire sign, a sort of very instinctive energy that we have here. The beast, the wild one, the she-wolf. We are mammals. The hair on our chest and between our legs reminds us so. We try hard to deny our unrefined animalistic nature. One of the things that I love about Aries energy is the lack of masks. Like the energy of Aries is very upfront, very independent, and not just straightforward. That sort of straightforward animalistic side of us, the very sort of I think that's what I mean. We try so hard to deny our unrefined animalistic nature. Yeah, whenever I do Aries transit videos, I always want to, I mean, I swear, right? I'm English, right? This is what we do. Well, British. This is what we do. We swear. It's not deemed to be rude. That every time I do an Aries transit video, I can't help the swear words. I really try and be very mindful in these videos, but they slip out when I'm dealing with Aries energy. Activating the animal within means reawakening our relationship to nature in the most broad and embodied sense. Drinking from waterfalls, roaring at the moon, opening our eyes underwater, eating berries from the vine. The life force of our planet begs us to set down the devices and constraints and the social constructs. And remember, love that, set down the social constructs, very Aries energy of that opposite of that Libra, of allowing yourself to be free and embodied and move without worrying about what society is going to think about you. North Node in Aries, very independent energy, very striving to do something different that's based on your own individual personal response to the universe. And remember the warm blood that pulses through our veins. Mars is very much linked into the blood in our veins, hot-headed, that sort of Mars is very primal in its nature. Mars was shamed by the other gods for not being so logical. And the more that we shame this part of us, the louder it gets, the more it blows up in ways that do us a disservice, basically. And so we want to really embrace that side of us and not hide from it. The animal longs for breath, food, procreation, and physicality. It wants soil under our nails and starlight on our skin. If this all sounds terribly unsophisticated to you, take note that it's said that when the Buddha became enlightened, he roared like a great lion. Notice your resistance to the animal within. Where does it come from? What has kept you from doing what has kept you from doing, wild one? The animal demands we get comfortable in our own skin, in, that embodiment of Aries. The minute you accept, express, and celebrate the physical body, you tap into that animal energy. It's making me think about Chiron and the wound around us being able to be that sort of very vital energy of Aries, that the social constructs may have us hiding from that it really is finding the balance between these things that is going to help set us free. Okay, so now we've got the poet. Where's the poet? Goodness me, I stacked these. Right, okay, the poet. So this is for the Libra side of it. Such beautiful cards. The artist, the witness, the truth teller. Very funny about this. Venus does traditionally rule the creative arts. She was the patroness of the arts. She wants us to feel good and enjoy the beauty and the wonder of the universe. The poet's work is to feel immensely and not to be afraid. They must seek out truth in the darkest corners of the world and carry it back for all to see. Now, linking into the South Node, this is when we go into withdrawal. This can be when we go a bit more isolated, when we go and look into the depths of something because we're more comfortable in that area. We're able to get into the depths, the darkest corners, and see what works for us. The unique capacity resides within all of us, regardless of our relationship to creativity. When the poet energy is present, there is a call for deep honesty and reflection, very much South Node energy, for seeing the big picture within the little one. The poet rides effortlessly between the personal and the universal. It is possible that others may not seem to listen or care about the poet's work, but do not be discouraged. Again, that's sort of that isolation of the South Node. It can be about not being seen, as well as doing deep internal work and being in a space that's comfortable. It can show up in lots of different ways, but acknowledging that as part of the journey and not to seek outside validation, particularly for that Libra energy of not needing that social approval. It is possible that others may not seem to listen or care about the poet's work, but do not be discouraged. The words of the poet ring true for centuries to come, soothing the wounds of despair and violence that captivate our world. The poet's work is never finished. Find your voice and trust that the wind will carry it. Yeah, it's saying clairvoyant, wise, timeless. The artist, the witness, the truth teller. So the South Node has us be mindful and be truthful with ourselves. Often we tend to let go of something that we think we want in order to understand what we truly need. But there's an element of play. There's an element of acknowledging the beauty of the journey. Poets can often be very sort of melancholy and a bit depressed, of seeing the beauty in the good, the bad, and the ugly, the darkness and the light, and realizing that this is all part of a journey for us all. And the more that we reject the dark and prioritize the light, the more that dark is just going to go, hey, why are you rejecting me? I'm part of the universe. You've distorted me. You've reflected me in the wrong way. You're hiding from me. Don't hide. Okay, right. Let's carry on. So now we've got glass. Following this sort of reveal of what's going on and the energies that we're working with. Transparency, focus, seeing. So being in that state of observation, seeing things for what they truly are after eclipses, because it can reveal secrets, it can reveal situations that may not have been serving you, and now you see the path a lot clearer. Glass transmits a sacred exchange between the alchemist and their work. Through the glass vessel, the alchemist sees their work, and the work sees the alchemist. What was once clouded in confusion becomes focused. I'm thinking about that really in the intense eclipse energy, where these are very key points in the year where things all come together. What was once veiled becomes obvious. How are you currently seeing the world? What is your perspective? The glass card can be thought of as the gift of true perception. With it, you naturally focus on what is most central in your life. Again, these eclipse points in nodes, they draw attention to these areas of our charts, the things that we've maybe missing out on, the things that we may have distorted. All else falls into the periphery. The next right action becomes clear. Glass is fragile by nature and requires regular cleaning, so find daily practices that align your vision to what is true. It is easy to slip into an old mode of seeing, particularly somebody else's. So hold steady to your new alchemical lens. The power is mighty. So even though we're doing this cardinal energy, very impulsive energy, wants to start, wants to instigate, I've been saying throughout, be mindful, be in a state of observation. We've got a lot of the outer planets in earth and water. Earth and water aren't bound by gravity. They are yin, night in nature, more cultivating, nurturing, being in observation, more strategy based. These are the longer term cycle planets that are helping us have these moments with this clarity, with this shift, with these energetic portals that come through that are going to change our perspective. We've got more focus in these areas of our chart. We're refining how we look at things and how we understand ourselves in a social dynamic. And we're going to be able to see a lot clearer with what's going on during this cycle. Some speak of rose-colored glasses that shift our perspective. Take inventory of what lens you are looking through. Is the glass muddy, colored, cracked, or crystal clear? So tend to your vision. Tend to the way in which you see the world and see yourself. And be mindful that there are distortions, right? The nodes help us clear karmic contracts, limiting beliefs, trauma responses by providing situations, providing awareness that help us be able to see a lot clearer. And so really we always get a lot of support, even if it's dramatic, with the eclipses. It's about being in awareness that this is the energy that we're working with. So underneath this, we have the ghost dance. This is the mystical shaman oracle, Alberto Villoldo, Colette Baron Reed, and Marcela Lobos. Right, so the essence of this card. The ghost dance of the American Plain Indians united the spirits of the living with those of the ancestors to bring peace to the world. North and South Node, very karmic energy. I was talking about the ancestors earlier. A lot of the things that we carry aren't necessarily just to do with our personal experience, but experience from our ancestors and from our past lives. And they're, I love that this is coming through, saying that they're here, they are holding us, they are in our space and allowing us to clear the ghosts. Okay, we need to do, it's my opinion that we need to do a lot of ancestral work. However that shows up for you, healing the earth, healing the energy, the stuck energy that can be lingering on after traumatic events, that we are, through our inner work, through our journey of ourselves, we are constantly doing ancestral work. The more that we tend to our own nature, tend to our wounds, we are helping heal those who have come before us. When the ancestors are honoured, they bring harmony to us. When we hold them responsible for all that is wrong with us today, they haunt us. Me saying that we take on energy from the ancestors isn't blaming. Is just an acknowledgement that the human being has a vast capacity to heal, and part of our mission here, in my opinion, is to take on this energy because we are paying it forward each lifetime. We, through our ability to transmute and transfer energy and free energy and let that chi flow, not only in this lifetime, past lifetimes, our ancestors and our future ones. Yeah, it's not about the blame game, for sure, not at all. No. That just gets you so far. Yeah. Honor the spirits of the ancestors and receive their lessons and gifts. This includes honoring your own past lives. The ancestors have a message of healing and powerful medicine to offer you. Create a sacred moment at your altar, light a candle to them, and let their wisdom infuse you. Okay, I've just sort of got a little nod from my energies of like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. As I said, like when you do the inner work, when you allow yourself to thrive rather than survive in a healthy, integrated way, you are honoring the ancestors. So the energies have wanted to do some energy work the whole time, but obviously I'm holding a book, and that one they were like, yep, we want that to come through. We want that to come through. There's so much love. There's so much love and support. I did a tarot reading for somebody and they wanted to know what their grandmother had, what their grandmother wanted to, what their grandmother's purpose was for them. And the only message that came through was for them to love themselves and to walk their own path from a space of integrity and love, right? That was it. That was it. I mean, there were other little things, but that was the key message. What was I going to say? Step into the abundance. At this stage in your life, you are done repeating their tragic stories. Sometimes I find the wording of this book a little bit, I'm not fully comfortable with it. We're allowed, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's always a lot of good stuff in here. It's just not always, it's always sometimes a bit dramatic. Step into the abundance that is offered to you, receive the gifts of those that have come before you, and write a new story for your life. The medicine, if you are trapped in a vicious cycle of nostalgia, mourning a lost youth or opportunities missed, it is time to make an altar for the ancestors. Collect a few photos, like some incense, offer sage, and open a window of your house to release them into the destiny and to the wind. Obviously, if you feel called to do it, do it. But, you know, not everyone's got photos of our parents, not parents, our grandparents or whatever. We don't, you do what feels right for you in that moment, right? Everything is always an individual interpretation of what's going on. So don't feel limited by the suggestions. Be wary of being snared in a relationship with someone from a past lifetime, as the people we loved or hurt have a way of reappearing in our lives. There is no learning for you there anymore. I don't necessarily agree with that. For some of you, that may really resonate. That may be something that you really needed to hear. Just be mindful of any relationships that come up during any nodal transit. It's all going to depend on where these show up in your chart, but acknowledging that there is eclipse energy around, that life is transitory. We are constantly in a state of flow. I feel like we're always learning lessons. But I would say if you've gone through certain situations, whether that's work, friends, romantic, and you just see similarities in certain previous dynamics, that you may need a little more nuanced understanding of what needs healing within you. Do that for yourself and don't necessarily seek doing that in that relationship where those flags may come up. Do what feels right for you. I want to give advice, but I don't want to limit anybody's experience. We can learn the lessons ourselves, but sometimes the universe is going to come along and say, hey, do you want to go down that rodeo again? Do you want to repeat that? Or are you going to see that you have learnt and you have grown? Okay, final card. Final card, guys. Where is it? The Shapeshifter. The trickster, the elusive, the formless. The shapeshifter has a love of theatre, games and trickery. Its energy appears as one thing, only to reveal a more complex story below the surface. The shapeshifter is within all of us to some degree. It is the side of ourselves that is slippery, non-committal and experimental, and longs to dismiss the rules. We need its energy to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of our existence. That's kind of what I was just sort of saying of like, what... You can bear witness to your preferences. You can bear witness to certain core fundamentals of who you are. But do not deny that we are constantly in a state of evolution. We are constantly changing. And we are able to open up to different dynamics, right? So all of this energy is saying, right, we need to release certain social constructions. We need to heal certain exaggerated energies of the individual. And through that, we're able to be more confident and be in a state of flow where we don't feel like we need to be defined or pigeonholed or put in a box or limited by our experiences up until this point. Be open to change. You know, we've got the quantum field energy come through, and that is very much the shapeshifter. It's not about disrespecting yourself or the people around you, but acknowledging that we are nuanced, multifaceted beings, and we have the capacity to embody different versions of ourselves at any given time. And that doesn't invalidate your core self. That doesn't invalidate the core self that is constantly changing, or all the other versions of self that are around. We need this energy to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of our existence. The more that we're able to be in flow, the stronger our foundations become. Okay, so we don't get knocked off our perch when certain situations come up, and that we're able to adapt and change and learn in the moment. And yeah. It's important to imagine you are looking at life through a kaleidoscope rather than through a single focused lens. At any moment, the scene may shift, revealing a more enchanting vision than you imagined. Dancing long term with the shapeshifter requires a central pillar of integrity that links us back to the center. Yes, exactly that. Vibrant, adaptive, humorous. The ultimate shapeshifter works undercover in service of the greater good. The diminished shapeshifter becomes a people pleaser. Again, that's highlighting the fact that we need to diminish this people pleasing thing, right? There's a way of making people feel comfortable without negating your own experience. The more that we're able to be fluid and adapt and hold space for different ideas and different understandings and different types of people without realizing that it's impacting you, right? So you can come across people who've got different ideas to you. You're either going to learn something from that idea, or it's going to really help you question how you feel and really help you strengthen that foundation. So either way, it's a win-win, even if you're uncomfortable with that idea or find that a little bit difficult. I talked about some controversial figures in part 5 who had the North Node in Aries. I have a feeling this energy is going to get exaggerated during the next 18 months. We need to hold space for it and understand and question it, and not necessarily shut the door to debate, shut the door from the fact that we are constantly in the state of flow. Sorry, I was just there. She has a lot of, so this is the format. So there's always little bits around, and I was just, sometimes she's referencing other cards, so I just wanted to double check whether I'd missed anything. Okay, when light, vibrant, adaptive, humorous. When dark, charlatan, people-pleasing, trickery, right? Vibrant, adaptive, and humorous. Remember, I talked about finding the light, finding, right, even if something's going is terrible and you're crying and you hate everything, always find that moment of within that. It's not about denying that, but tap into the happy Buddha, tapping into the laughing Buddha, and be able to find something that makes you smile. For me, it's the acknowledgement of the ridiculousness of this rodeo, this crazy roller coaster, this crazy play, this ridiculous tapestry of energy. How on earth does this universe exist? It's wild. It's ridiculous. It's insane that we're even here doing this right now. And that makes me smile. So if that can help you make smile, I'm glad to pass that on. Right, I am done with this reading. I'm going to be reading next up Gemini and then Taurus. Thank you all for being here. Be good to yourselves. Be good to those around you. And most importantly, be well until we meet again. Gemini rising. How you doing, Gemini? For those of you just tapping into the Gemini energy, look to where Gemini falls in your chart, the house that it's in, the themes of that house, and apply those themes to the messages that come through. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. It's as if that Gemini energy has now moved to the first house. In general, regardless of whether Gemini is your rising sign or not, Gemini energy sextiles and trines the North and South node. So you've got a lovely sextile with the North node in Aries and a trine with the South node in Libra. This is very supportive energy. This is free-flowing energy. Trines and sextiles, they're ruled by Jupiter and Venus. So they're the greater benefics. And they help, they're soft aspects, right? There's an ease, there's a free-flowing energy here. You're not having to work too hard. This is very inspirational, very creative energy. And this is off the bat of the Taurus and Scorpio cycle being in conjunct and inverted to your Gemini energy. Now that's more complicated, a little less easy to access energy. It can be a little bit frustrating. I'm going to talk more about all of this as I go through this reading, but just to let you know that you're shifting from a potentially more complex and difficult energy to something that's a lot more free-flowing. You, Sagittarius, Leo and Aquarius all have these sextiles and trines. So for the next 18 months, very creative, very inspirational energy wherever these signs fall in your chart. But for Gemini rising, okay, before I kick off, I'm pulling cards for 4 different piles. The first pile is going to be for the North Node in Aries. The second pile is going to be for the square with Pluto in Capricorn. The third pile is the South Node in Libra. And then the final pile is how this energy is manifesting moving forward. While I'm going to be talking about the astrology, and then the cards are going to come out. They're going to just go all over the place. And then... the energies that I channel are going to want to do some energy work, and they'll move the cards around. As I said in the introduction, this has been a lot longer for all of the videos so far, way longer than my usual transits. And so I'm just allowing it to happen because we're dealing with eclipse energy. So we've got a fair amount of energy to sort of help us move a bit. So the energies want to help us move through this with all a bit more grace. So they're wanting to do a lot more work in order to facilitate that. So do bear with me when that happens. That's when I'll go quiet, and then I'll loop back round and I'll bring the tarot in. They'll move the cards around in strange ways, and then they'll put them in 4 piles. And then when the energy work stopped, I will then bring in the tarot with everything that I've just spoken about. Right, so North Node in Aries. This sextiles your Gemini energy. So a sextile is an aspect of Venus. She's a benefic. As I said, this is a soft aspect. There's a free-flowing energy. It's a lot easier to work with than harder aspects, which are conjunctions, squares, and oppositions. And a sextile, right, so Venus, what's she bringing to the table with this aspect? Today is Friday, Venus's day, very appropriate. Creativity, right? She's the patroness of the arts. It's very much brainstorming energy, and I'll get to why that I see it in that way. There's a sense of harmonizing, of connection, of finding value and appreciation with this energy. So you are both yang day in nature. This is ruled by, you know, the sort of the more direct action, more extrovert, stimulating, needing stimulus, go, 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 go. A lot of fast movement. You are both not bound by gravity. You're very fast energies, right? So you've got something in common, like the key nature of yourself is you have a similarity. However, you're different elements. You're air, Aries is fire, and your different modalities. Aries is cardinal energy, likes to instigate things, and Gemini is mutable. You're very adaptable. You're going here, there, and everywhere. You are in the flow of things and able to let go of that which doesn't serve you and go on to the next thing. So you've got this very supportive energy, and that's why it's creative brainstorming, right? So you've got something in common. You're the same nature in essence, but you're coming at it from very different spaces. But you work together, right? Air and fire work together. Yin, yang day in nature. Earth and water are more bound by gravity. There's a slowness, there's a heaviness to it. It's more receptive, more observational, taking your time with things. So there's a lot of fast pace coming in here. Very, very fast pace. Lots of instigating, trying, and doing. So for Gemini rising, you have Aries in the 11th house. The 11th house is the house of good spirits. This is your hopes and your dreams, your friends, groups and alliances, and reaping the benefits from your 10th house, which is your career, your life purpose, the vision, your North Star, the direction that you're heading in. So having the North Node here, very supportive energy. It's exaggerating and amplifying your hopes and your dreams. You're striving, you're focused on this. It can be a little uncomfortable just because we're going into new territory, new frontier land. And so really looking to your hopes and your dreams, spending a lot of time with that. So understanding what it is that you need from friends, groups and alliances and how you want to be embodied in those. Maybe getting a lot of support from those groups and alliances and friends that are facilitating your hopes and your dreams during this transit. Again, it's an exaggeration of everything that you've learned, or the reaping the benefits from the 10th house. So it might be that bonuses come in or rewards come in for the hard work that you've put in. That doesn't just have to be money. That could be certain sense of accomplishment and completion and leveling up in the career area of your life. You may be wanting to spend more time in with like-minded groups, like-minded alliances, maybe forming new alliances during this time that are helping you strive forward in and facilitating your hopes and your dreams. Right, so in part 5, I talked a lot about lots of famous people who have the North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra, and so many of them had the North Node in the North Node in the 11th house. And this is because this is a very positive house. And so is the house that Libra is in and the South Node is in. So this is not only are you getting sextiles and trines, which other signs are as well, but you've got this, you and Sagittarius, you have it in reverse, both have these happening in very positive houses. So you've got a lot of support from the universe right now. You know, I feel like after that, 8 months transit of Mars in your sign as well. You've now got Saturn in your 10th house. So that's providing support of the direction that you're heading in and commitment to that, as well as this exaggeration with the North Node, this amplification, the head of the dragon, what we're hungry, what we're feeding it at this time, this desire to feed it is very exaggerated during this eclipse cycle. And not only that, but we had Jupiter move through Aries. We've got the stag here, which I used for that transit and for other Aries transits at the time, just to let us all know that that energy is still there. That sense of Jupiter brings wisdom and elevation and an inner confidence because of that wisdom. And therefore it provides opportunities and understanding, a sense of abundance you've had for over a year with Jupiter being there. Jupiter's now in Taurus. That we're all benefiting from that, of helping to really understand what that Aries energy is before we then get the magnification of the North Node. So having Aries in the 11th can mean you're very independent. You're the maverick of the groups, right? Your dreams are very frontier dreams, that you're thinking beyond what is normal, right? Aries wants to go out and embody the world for itself, and you're doing that with your hopes and your dreams. That a lot of people with that strong Aries energy, they're pioneers. They're renowned for something that no one else has been renowned for. I'm not saying that this is going to be the case for every Gemini, right? But to acknowledge that that energy is very prominent at this time, and that can be on a small scale, or certainly in your own sphere of from teachers. And Aries, sometimes can not want to seek too much outside influence and really experience existence for itself. So you may be coming up with really reinforcing very maverick dreams and hopes, and being that rebel, being that instigator in groups and alliances that are going to help, as I said, facilitate the direction that you're headed in. So very supportive energy. It's sextiling your rising sign for Gemini rising, and the rising sign is the first house. The first house is the house of self. This is how you embody your sun or your moon in your actions and your deeds, depending if you've got a day or a night chart. This is your body, your vitality, your appearance, and your character. It's often how other people see you. So you've got a lot of brainstorming between how you embody yourself in your hopes and your dreams. Right, a lot of creativity. You're able to sort of figure out from the way that you embody yourself what it is that you need in your life. Through your actions, you're able to facilitate those dreams and interact with groups and alliances that are helping you redefine who you are, or at least re-remember who you are as well. North Node energy can bring in people old soul connections that for either side, I feel like it's either going to bring in souls that you've never engaged with before, or it's going to bring in souls that, this is my opinion, you don't have to agree with this, you can bring in souls that you've been in each other's soul family before, you've been in different lives before, but this time people that come into your life, you're interacting in a way that you've never interacted, right? You're learning a new lesson. You're striving for something that you haven't encountered before during this cycle. So yeah, do watch out for that. So a lot of creative energy, this harmonizing energy, this sense of appreciation and value of your hopes and your dreams and your willingness to commit to it. Yeah, love this for you, Gemini. What else did I want to say? Look to where your Mars is. So Mars, in your chart, natal chart, wherever it is, what sign it's in, the themes of the house that it's in, these are going to add on a layer. They're going to show up in this transit. So these are going to add on a layer that help you understand from a more personal, intimate experience with this transit. They're going to just give you a little bit more understanding of what's going to show up. So do that. Also look to where Mars is transiting in the sky. Mars moves through a sign every 2.5 months. So we're going to have a sort of a longer time with Mars establishing wherever it is how to facilitate those hopes and dreams, right? Opportunities may come up in different areas of your chart that do that. New experiences with groups and alliances, opportunities from reaping the benefits of your 10th house, a sense of completion and feeling confident and feeling good about who you are and how your hopes and dreams are manifesting. So currently Mars is in Virgo, and we'll leave there on the 27th of August and then move into Libra with the South Node. Let me just move this down a little bit. And so Mars currently is in Virgo, which is in your 4th house of your roots and your foundations, your home, your private life. This can help, Mars can help you find the motivation to understand your foundations, find the small details and facilitate the growth of that, as well as being able to do things around in the privacy of your own home that is facilitating those hopes and dreams, right? Really cultivating in that inner private space of what it is that you need from the things that bring you hope into your life. And then we'll be moving into Libra, right? So let's go over to Libra, the South Node. And this is in your 5th house of creation energy. This is the house of joy. So you've got the house of good spirits and the house of joy. And Libra, fellow air sign. You are both yang day in nature, so you've got 2 out of the 3 things in common. The only thing that's different is the modality. Again, Libra is cardinal energy, instigating, beginning things, able to bring things together and come up with new ideas and new ways of interacting with things. And this trines your Gemini energy. So it's trining for Gemini rising, your 1st house. Trines are an aspect of Jupiter. Jupiter wants to provide elevation, expansion, inspiration. There's because you've got 2 things in common. You're both air, you're both yang day in nature, there's just an ease, you're on the same team, so the sharing of information is a lot quicker, and that through that you're not having to learn so much, it's more elevating on what you do know and how to work with it. So you can just I just get a little bit of elevation there, which is what Jupiter likes to bring, and wisdom and understanding the different modality and how that's showing up and how that can help and facilitate you, and vice versa. Elevation, wisdom, a sense of cohesion, of bringing things together in a bigger whole, and through this wisdom that we get with the trine, that's when the luck and opportunities seem to come in. That's when the abundance comes in, because you're just a little bit more comfortable. You're not planning, you're not second guessing things, you're not blocking off the opportunities from the universe when we're in a bit more in flow. These are very inspirational energies, creative energies, that sextile and the trine. The only sort of negative with that is with this, it can mean that we just find it all a bit easy and we don't have the motivation to put things into action. I've said this for all the signs that have trines and sextiles, that it's really good just to be mindful of that, and try and cultivate that energy of things coming in and taking action with them, because that's more squares and oppositions and conjunctions when things start to manifest and you start creating in the world, the sort of more hard aspects that need a little bit more effort to get going. So just be mindful that this is an incredibly inspiring time, incredibly creative time, that just be mindful, that don't let the opportunities go past you, where you don't have the motivation to take any action with it. Libra, 5th house. Okay, 5th house, your creation energy. I always like to focus on this because everything else, all the other themes of the 5th house are so interlinked with this creation energy. It's your spark within you. It's the thing that gives you a spring in your step. Now, whereas Mars is your motivation, your drive to get out of bed in the morning. The 5th house is that joy space, right? The amusement, the fun, the play, the creativity. And through that is romance and short-term dating, the pleasure principle, love, as well as children and the inner child. Okay, so creative outlets are very much our children. We birth them out into the world, and it's about acknowledging that they are free to go and explore and not having too many expectations around what's coming up, and really enjoy the play of exploring with the fifth house. I talked about the inner child, so right, okay, let me talk more about the south node being there, and I'll tie all of that in. Libra, very creative energy, very socially dynamic, being able to bring crowds together. It can be an element of people pleasing. It can be that you find yourself, when you're in those spaces of joy, that you may be prioritizing everybody else over yourself. This transit is helping you not do that anymore, not so much, and really be able to embody yourself in that social dynamic, and finding that innate balance that Libra can bring, that restoration of that which was lost. Okay, Libra is the social, whereas I see Aries as the spiritual warrior, going out and forth, and what are you striving for, what how do you truly want to embody your spark of spirit, whereas Libra is the social warrior. Libra wants everyone to have a space at the table, and then I see it very often with Libra energy, that when you see something that an idea, a construct, a way that people think might be distorted, as in like not having all the facts, not having all the information, that Libra can come along and really rectify that. The Libra card is justice, right? A sense of equity, of rights being wronged. At least there are things coming into balance, that at least another viewpoint, as well as the distorted viewpoint, can be sat at the table. And so right, let's lead this in with the south node. That Venus rules Libra, Aries rules Mars, so can be quite combative. I forgot to mention that. So you might be quite combative in group situations. You might prioritize your ideas over the group mentality. This transit is helping you mediate that. It's not about denying your own reality, but acknowledging other people's, right? So we've got this interplay between the Libra and Aries energy that we should all be mindful of, regardless of whether the nodes are there or not, but the nodes are really amplifying this. So the south node in Libra, what does that mean? Well, you could be reassessing and reevaluating your creative energy, your pleasure principle, your inner child. Okay? So the south node is the tail of the dragon, head of the dragon, hungry, 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 hungry. What do we do after we eat? Where does that food go, right? Tail of the dragon. This is where purging, releasing, transmuting energy happens. This is a place, the south node is often a place that we're very comfortable in. We tend to be drawn towards it, and spend a bit more time there. It can be a space of detangling, right? So when we're comfortable with something, we're able to see the nuances. We're able to see the details that we may have missed. And the south node really likes to disentangle things and makes and sort of refine that energy. It's very esoteric, very sort of the monk in the monastery energy of like really going, even though it's cardinal and action taking, you're instigating, there's still going to be elements, even though it's a day sign, it's still going to be an element of going inward in that space, and seeing what you're instigating from that inner observational energy. Yeah, it might be a bit more withdrawn with the south node, whereas the north node exaggerates and brings things into your life. The south node, I find often you end up, there's an element of sacrifice, of purging something that you think you want, but is actually facilitating what you need in the long term. Okay, so these are longer term cycles. So there may be an element of really reassessing your creativity, and through that reassessing what brings you joy, what brings you amusement and fun. The inner child is there, right? So there's a lot of trauma. We can have a lot of trauma around the inner child, where we can exaggerate that pleasure principle. We can go all out with amusement and fun and not really be mindful and be the adult in the room. With the south node moving through that sign, you are going to spend time releasing some of those addiction issues, right? Addiction can very much show up in the fifth house because it's amusement, it's fun, it's that dopamine, right? And I say addiction in the way that I believe it would be very hard push to find lots of people who aren't addicted. I feel like addiction is rampant everywhere. It's built into the structures of our current modern society. We've got phones are hitting our dopamine constantly in a state of contact. We've got sugar everywhere. These are like the sort of the key fundamentals of addiction, as well as the more intense versions of that can really sort of have, I mean, I think they all have non-nourishing effects on us, but that are more linked into your inner child space, rather than the fact that we're now used to phones and dopamine is such an easy habit to be in, that our inner child gets a lot of tending to, a lot of support here, that you're really spending time with that energy and acknowledging what did that inner child not receive, and how can you tend to it, how can you refine that energy and really support it, because with that comfort we've got a lot of support. And so situations may come up that may trigger trauma responses linked into that, in order to help you see it. Just be mindful of that. It might not happen to all of you, might just happen to some of you, but be really mindful of those scenarios. And you're going to just spend a little bit more time withdrawn, working through those things. And it will serve you in the long term, right? So sometimes... Hello, Justice. It's a Libra card. It's only the second time that that's come out. That... you're just going to spend a little bit more time working out what needs to go, what needs to be let go of, what energy needs to be transmuted. And that energy that we let go of gets transmuted into our hopes and dreams. So finding that balance between, okay, what's going to nourish you in the long term, in terms of the house of joy, right? How you may have had issues around romance and short-term dating, and all the things that come with that these things may come up a lot during this cycle. In order to help you release and work through these things, realize or pop up and help you know, okay, no, I have worked through that. And sometimes we get examples from the universe to help us see that what we've learned on our journey. So whereas the North Node can be very sort of materialistic in the 3D world, that sort of striving out in the world, and I don't say that with any judgment, the South Node is very much more that spiritual end of it. And so you may spend more time figuring out how spirituality brings you joy, how to interact that with your creative energy, really get a real strengthening of balance come in, and this desire to harmonize all those areas of that house together that are more in fulfillment and more equally balanced, rather than one side being a bit exaggerated than the other. With the South Node, this can bring people into your life that may be highlighting, as I said, previous relationship cycles or pleasure principles, that are here to help you realize that you've moved on from that and you no longer need to learn that lesson, as well as people coming into your life to help you remember something within you that's been hidden. And really having a reconnection with a past soul, a person in your life. That doesn't just have to be romantic. That can be anything. It could be somebody from your childhood to help you work through childhood wounds, and then find a really close bond with that person, or just generally just bringing in an energy of helping you release that which no longer serves you, right? So I talked about the head of the dragon, what we eat, and then the tail of the dragon is what happens to that food. Well, in shamanic principles and practices, sometimes when you have a big energetic shift, that your body needs to release everything on a physical level, right? So within that release, there is a lightening of energy. There's a lightness, right? There's a sense of that the toxins being purged, not only energetically but physically from your body. So it could really be helping you work through addictions that may have been blocking you, limiting beliefs based off neglect, that we go and seek comfort and support from things that then recreate that neglect in our lives. Yeah, but it's the house of good, the house of joy. So the other side of it, you're really going to feel a lot more confident and understanding about what brings you joy, how to work with your creativity, maybe opening up and rebalancing blockages that you may have had around your creativity. As I said, Libra is the justice card. It is about things, wrongs being righted and things coming into balance, clearing out old soul contracts, linked into that addiction process, or blockages around your self-worth in terms of your creativity. Speaking of self-worth, we're going to be looking at Cancer later on in this reading, and so remember that, because we're not just looking at the Aries and Libra cycle, but the Capricorn and Cancer part of the cardinal energy. So lots can come up with that South Node. Certainly reevaluating what you want from relationships, what you want from that pleasure principle in a way that's healthy for you going forward, and making sure that you're treating yourself with respect. Allowing yourself to have a space at the table when it comes to these things. As I said, not people-pleasing people, not people-pleasing in a way that is diminishing your experience. It's not about being rude. It's not about being dismissive. That's the exaggerated version of Aries. We really want this in balance. Right, look to where Venus is transiting. So Venus, unlike Mars, she goes through a sign about once a month. So she's going to be moving through all the houses very quickly during the cycle. So you're going to get sort of a holistic, well-rounded understanding of how does that creation energy, that spark of spirit, that thing that brings you joy, how has that been affected by every other area of your chart, and have the facility and the ability to let go of certain things and transmute that energy and then transform that energy into the direction where you're headed with your hopes and your dreams. However, Venus is currently in Leo. She's going to be in Leo till the 9th of October. She's retrograding. For those of you who've not checked out the Venus in retrograde series, I recommend it. She retrogrades the least out of everybody. And so when she does, it's a big impact. And this is starting a whole new 8-year cycle from the 7th of October, when she leaves the shadow phase of the degrees she's retrograded over. This is starting a whole new cycle in operating from your heart space, valuing yourself. And so she's impacting this nodal transit. Because it kick-started with the North Node being in Taurus with this retrograde. No, it didn't. I take that back completely. Well, no, actually, no, that's not true. Right, so she started retrograding on the 22nd, 23rd. The nodes had already moved signs. However, she started the shadow phase when the nodes were in Taurus and Scorpio. So not only did she impact the end of that Taurus North node, but has now moved over to the South node. And so this retrograde is not only impacting us just in general for the next 8 years, but really impacting how we show up for ourselves. How do we value ourselves in terms of in a social situation, in a sense of bringing harmony? So there's a lot of impact coming in from Venus, and that's over in your third house, your house of communication, your house of your local community. It's the house of the goddess. So how do we embody our ninth house perspectives and philosophies into our day-to-day? You're getting a full revamp in the way that you express yourself, the way that you communicate with yourself. Communication, that's far too many. Communication can come in all sorts of different ways. It's not just how we talk to ourselves. It's not just speaking, but it's absolutely everything we do. All right. And so you're getting a full revamp over the summer with this. And then, so that's having a big impact. And what I see with that is, so that's sextiling the South Node in Libra and trining the North Node in Aries. So she's facilitating your ability to communicate your hopes and dreams from a heart space, as well as getting very creative with understanding how your communication has been blocked based on things that haven't worked out in that fifth house, right? As well as providing support of like, hey, what are we refining? This beauty and wonder of how you express yourself and communicate, and how you're doing that in a creative way. Yeah, and then she'll move through each sign every month, as I said, and you'll get a bit of more varied understanding of what's showing up for you with these eclipses. Also, look to where your Venus is in your chart, the sign that she's in, and the themes of the house that she's in, because this will show up in what's going on in Libra, because wherever Venus is impacts the signs that she rules, and that's Taurus and Libra. Speaking of Taurus, right, so I said at the beginning, you've gone from, well, we've all gone from Taurus and Scorpio, but so we've gone from the North Node being in a Venus rule sign, how do we feel? How do we connect? What feels good? To now a Mars North Node of what action are we taking? That's reversed with the South Node. And you had the North Node in your 12th house, Gemini, but just in general, the Taurus is inverted to Gemini. They're next door to each other. And this is when two people are sitting next to each other. This is how I describe it. But they're both looking forward. They can feel that each other are there, right? So you've got a lot of communication that isn't direct, right? So you don't have a direct line of sight. So there isn't that sense of clarity, but there's still so much more communication going on between those two people. It's just happening on very subtle energetic levels. And that's what you get with the inverted energy. That was in your 12th house. So you've really been striving to understand any mental health issues, any trauma responses, I mean, any limiting beliefs. You've had a lot of focus on that with that North Node in Taurus, providing space to go inward and uncover the magic underneath yourself. So North Node moving through there, you can start getting into the occult, into that which isn't seen, the magic of the universe. And now that North Node has moved into Aries of like, okay, now that you've got a better understanding, right? So the 12th house can be a really difficult house, can be a hard house to integrate because it's got that trauma responses and limiting beliefs, our anxiety, depression, mental issues. When we peel back those layers and we get to the root, we get to the soul of our magic that you've had the last 18 months, you've had an eclipse cycle. We're going to have a full moon Taurus eclipse in the end of the year, but it's out of sign, but it's still going to be the final eclipse of this season. That it's really going to have a completion energy of everything that you've been through. But you're going to have, I should imagine, that you've got more understanding of your mental health, more understanding of how you see yourself, and having worked through that and figured out how do you feel good in that mental space, of really being able to tap into your senses of that pleasure principle without leaning towards addiction, without leaning to exaggeration, because sometimes when energy is unintegrated, especially the 12th house, it can get very loud. It just does so in a sort of a distorted way. So now now that's all moved into your hopes and your dreams. So with that more clarity and understanding of who you are on an unconscious level, 12th house, you're now able to facilitate how to embody your hopes and your dreams. So it's a lovely shift in the nodal cycle, but that was inverted, so slightly less I mean, it's still very incredibly powerful energy, but as I said, not that clear direct line of sight. And now you've got a sextile, so very creative, very easy, free-flowing energy, but it's more noticeable. Now, the South Node was in Scorpio, which is in conjunct your Gemini energy, regardless of whether it's your rising sign. And for Gemini rising, that is in the 6th house of work, health and routines. In conjunct, you've got nothing in common traditionally, right? So it can be a little bit, it's the adult in the room, the 6th house. It can be difficult to step up to work, health and routines, right? We can all be like, oh, do we have to? Oh, routines, doing something every day. Is this really what we need? The South Node moving through there has really helped you refine how, right, so the 6th house for me is how you embody your work. The 2nd house are the tools in which you have in order to make your money. The 6th house is how those tools, the lens in which they operate, okay? So you've had the South Node moving through there, helping you refine how it is that you work. It may be helping you understand and purify and condense how to take care of your body, how to get good routines in, and often really reevaluate on a spiritual level about what your work means to you. And now that's like with that foundation of understanding how you work, you're now putting all of that energy into your creative energy. Okay, now how do we refine that creative energy and really get that in? There's a depth to the South Node. When we're comfortable with something, we can get to the depths of it, and really be able to see the merit for what it is, really understand and value what it is that you have to offer. But an inconjunct's difficult, right? Can felt a bit like, oh, you're going here or there, right? It's difficult to get going because, you know, it helps to have things in common. Then there's ease of flow of information. But with the inconjunct, like once you realize that that's what that's about, like crossed wires, a bit confusing, a bit frustrating. Once you realize that that's kind of the initiatory stage of the inconjunct, after that is when you've sort of, you have respect for that energy and know that it's different, and and you both want to work with it in a way that is facilitating both of those energies. That's when you start coloring outside the lines. That's when you start bringing things together that are unfamiliar in order to create something new. Whereas with the trine and sextile, as I said, can be a bit easy, can be a bit flow, and you might not get the motivation. Like it just falls, it just effortlessly flows. That it's almost kind of like sticking in the same lane, right? Whereas the inconjunct is like all the lanes, all the neural pathways. So you've gone from some difficult but very transformative energy to the sextile and trine. So there's flow, there's ease. It's going to be great. It's going to feel great. But as I said, do bear in mind that there is the capacity of not getting up and going and doing anything with it. So bear in mind that might be floating around. What else did I want to talk about? It's handy, it can be handy to look back in time and see what was going on in your life the last time the North Node was in Aries and the South Node was in Libra. So all the dates and all the degrees and absolutely everything is in the description box. I know it's a lot of information, but don't worry, it's all there for you to go back and look at. From the end of December 2004 to the end of June 2006, that's when we had the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. So it might be helpful to look back in time and see what themes came up around then. It's not going to be the same rodeo this time, but there may be some common themes to help you then be in observation when these themes crop up, but just in different ways. And so you're able to work and sort of understand, okay, what did that North Node want from me? What did that South Node want from me in these areas of my life? And now you're starting a new cycle with that. It's also very helpful to see what happened the last time the North Node was in Libra and the South Node was in Aries, and that was March 2014 to autumn 2015. So, right, it's really important with the nodes, because it's an opposition, to find balance between the two. If you watch the introduction, this card was very, very poignant with that, of acknowledging, and it was the main themes that kept coming up throughout all the readings. That it's not about neglecting one or rejecting one in order to prioritize the other. It's about finding a balance to allow both energies to coexist in harmony with one another. And so we want to see, when the North Node was in Libra, what did Libra want with the North Node there? Or maybe your focus, where was it exaggerated? What did the South Node want in Aries? Because what were you refining in your hopes and your dreams that you're now building on this time round? And in the same way, what was sort of maybe blown up? What lessons have you learned? What direction did you head in? And now how do you want to refine that moving forward? So very, very helpful to look back in time and see what was going on. Right, so what I really like about this transit, and I think it's important for all the air and fire signs to be mindful of this. I've brought it up in every single one, especially because if the Gemini rising, so you're an air sign, so this fire and air is very natural energy for you, right? It's very, you want to go on the go, you want to stimulation, go, 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 go. However, for those of you who have the rising sign that is fire or air, this can lead to burnout. Right, so with fire and air, not bound by gravity, wants to move, wants to do, wants to go, right? And that can feel very comfortable. So you think you're good, you think you've got it, and you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. Then all of a sudden, burnout. All of a sudden, total wipeout. And so I've been saying to everybody, look to the Cancer. Oh no, I don't want to do. Oh, that's the next bit. Right. What I love about this transit and where everybody else is, right? The big outer planets, Jupiter and Uranus are in Taurus, which is an earth sign. Neptune and Saturn are in Pisces, which is a water sign. And Pluto is now in Capricorn, which is an earth sign. So at the moment, until Jupiter moves into Gemini and Pluto's going to go back into Aquarius for a bit, so that is going to have an impact. But until then, Jupiter's not moving into Gemini, into your sign, Gemini, hello, until next year. But until then, we've got a lot of support from the longer term cycle planets that are saying, hey, breathe, 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 just slow, just breathe, just breathe, Gemini. And just allow that stillness, allow that space to not be distracted, and just let it all settle. Let it all settle. And tend and nourish yourself, because otherwise we might get burnt out. Aside from that, it's not just about the Aries and Libra axis, it's about Cancer and Capricorn as well. So we really want to make sure that all those cardinal points are in harmony with one another, that they're all in balance. And so often, the other signs that aren't in the nodes, the signs that square the nodes, so that's Cancer and Capricorn, they square the nodes. When we have transits in those signs, this is when things start to get going. This is when we get the activation energy, when things start to manifest, linked into those eclipses. And so these are called the bendings. Now, Cancer is coming from the North Node to the South Node. So it's the midpoint between the North and the South Node. So it's kind of the lowest point, because when we get to the South Node, we then start moving back up again, right? So it's kind of like the lowest point. And so when we have Cancer transits, we are going to be really purifying and letting go of something and transmuting that energy into a very deep energy. Like it's the lowest point. It's the roots, it's the foundations of something. It might mean something's breaking away in order to create a stronger foundation. We just had a Cancer new moon that would happen 2 hours before the nodes changed signs. And that was a really big, beautiful moon. If you've not checked that collective reading out, I really recommend it. It was gorgeous. And that energy is still available to us. And so that was marking this point of really letting go of parts of our intuition that get distorted from trauma responses and limiting beliefs. Not only that, that moon was opposite Pluto. So we're bringing Pluto back in, which I will go and talk about, of deep, deep transformation. And Pluto's playing a big role for a lot of this nodal cycle. And more importantly, on top of that, that new moon in Cancer squared the original Aries new moon eclipse that we've had already, right? That was a hybrid eclipse. Hybrid eclipses happen once every 10 years. That was probably one of the strongest channel messages that I've had while doing this channel. And it was very much soul integration. I've put all of these in a playlist. If you want to go and check that out, a lot came through with that one, and that is starting a longer term cycle. So it's a new moon. It wasn't just limited to that moment. And it was about soul integration, integrating our past lives, our future lives that are more in lockstep with our present moment, that might not necessarily be, we're building on that conscious awareness, but certainly through osmosis, through our unconscious mind, that energy is all interlinking. So we're more in alignment with our soul's journey. And we've been building on that with every new moon that we've had since then. And so that Cancer new moon was squaring that. So it really instigated a big part of this cycle. I've also put so we had 2 Aries new moons this year and a Cancer full moon. Libra full moon. All of those are in the playlist, because not only were they helping us understand what we're clearing out, what's coming up, but also where we're headed. So you might want to go check those out to get more of an understanding of what Aries and Libra mean to you if you're not sure, because I go into a lot more detail about that in those videos. And so that's the sort of the lower part of the bendings. And then Capricorn is the highest point. So it's the midpoint from the South Node to the North Node. So when we hit the North Node, we then start going down again. So this is the highest point where things are raised up. So we've got Pluto there. Until January 2024, it'll be squaring the nodes. And so we've got a lot of energy, of Plutonian energy in this nodal cycle. Pluto's a very, very intense energy, very powerful, deep, transformational energy. Can be very possessive, can be very obsessive, very controlling. I feel like a lot of those things have been let go of. We're making peace with them, and helping work through those fears. So Pluto's often linked into fear as well, because it dealt with the ancestors of dying, of like that fear of death and what we're doing with it and how it's going to affect us, the fear of the unknown. So I always say with Pluto, sit with your fears. Don't let them control you. Acknowledge why they might be there. Don't let them bind you in your actions and your deeds. It can be very hard to do. But that Pluto journey, right, it's going to make... It's going to leave and go back into Aquarius and come back again. But I've felt so much support with this Pluto transit that it's really facilitating a magnetism and an intensity in wherever this falls in your chart. And I'll talk about the Cancer Capricorn axis. That Pluto was also linked into what the riches under the ground, right? So jewels and minerals. It's about digging things up, things being revealed, things being unearthed that were once hidden. So with this square to the nodes, this very fated energy of resources coming to your in embodiment. You're being transformed by these resources that were hidden from you in this part of your soul's journey, and now they're being revealed and integrated and raised up, right? Gonna have to pause for a second. I need to hydrate. Right, so the other thing that's going on, so basically the nodes aren't, because I talked about how Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus and Neptune and Saturn are in Pisces. These are either side of Aries and in conjunct Libra. Speaking of Jupiter, that they're not, it's that inverted energy and that inconjunct energy that I've already talked about for you, Gemini. That was part of your last cycle, that yes, this is happening, but there isn't a direct line of sight in terms of aspects to all the outer planets, except for Pluto and then Jupiter later on. So basically the nodes are very personal for us. They're going to be very personal in this particular cycle, making major aspects to the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus and Mars, and not so much the outer planets. So it's very much an embodiment of our personal responses during this cycle. But we are getting sort of, you know, as I said, that inverted, that subtle energetic field, thinking differently outside of the lines with the inconjunct with Libra of the longer term cycles impacting us on that sort of subtle energetic level. But yeah, very personal. The other thing that's going on with Aries and with Libra, but mostly with Aries, is Chiron. Chiron's been in Aries for a while now, and we've been working through the wounds of the expression of the individual. Chiron is the wounded healer. In part 4 I talk about the mythology of Chiron and do a collective reading for that, and also in the collective reading for the Libra full moon that was opposite Chiron, and that was very potent. But Chiron's going to be having a huge impact because from now until mid-June the nodes are going to be 10 degrees either side of Chiron, whether that's conjunction or an opposition, and in general, like the whole nodal transit will be impacted by Chiron, because in Hellenistic principles, that's the Greco-Roman period that I use as the foundational level of my astrology, that anything in a sign, regardless of how close it is to one another, is still going to have an impact. They're still in the same realm, they're still in the same house, they're still in the same sign, but 10 degrees away either side. Was there a card flipped over? Is going to be from now until mid-June, that Chiron's going to be having a big impact on these nodes, and really, so the North node is going to be exaggerating Chiron and amplifying that wound, but also the medicine that we get from it. On the 19th of February is when it's going to be exact in the conjunction. I'll probably pull a card for that, some cards for that in a different video, and I'll make sure I put it in with this nodal playlist. But just to let you know that we're going to be working through some difficult things, but we're going to find the wisdom in it. We're going to find the deep intelligence that Chiron has to help facilitate our growth as individuals, as well as rebalancing social pleasing with that Libra energy of like where are we not being able to express ourselves without fear of triggering people. That's not to say that we shouldn't be mindful of other people's situations, but also being able to hold space for debate and conversation. So that's what's going to have. So they're the sort of the major outer planets and asteroids that are going to have a significant longer cycle effect on what's going on with the nodes. In terms of the eclipses, so I'm not going to be pulling cards for the eclipses. I do lunation videos, so I'll be pulling cards for each of those eclipses when we come to them. But I just want to talk in general because we're going to have 3 new moons in Aries. We've already had one of them, that hybrid eclipse that I talked about. And 2 of these new moons are going to be out of sign. So this means when the nodes are out of sign, we've had one with the Taurus Scorpio eclipse cycle with the hybrid eclipse in Aries, and then we'll have one with the nodes being in Aries, so only one major Aries dominated new moon, and the other one is when the nodes are going to have moved into Pisces and Virgo. So I really like the fact that we've got such a huge focus on Aries. However, we're allowing fluidity, we're allowing different ideas to come in to influence that Aries energy, which I love for all of us. And also there's 3 new moons, right? And why is that significant? Well, the full moon that's going to be an eclipse is actually an almost eclipse. Like it's not a full-blown thing. It says on the eclipse website that it's almost, so it's on a very subtle energetic level that we're having this, full moon. The eclipses, they represent completions, they represent culminations of something that we're not culminating. We keep going, and the culmination that we do have is on the very subtle energetic field that is really going to ripple inward, but not necessarily shake us off that growth period. I'm really looking forward to doing that reading. I can't wait to see what messages come through with that. We're going to have 2 new moons in Libra and a full moon in Libra. All of those are obviously eclipses, and they are all in signs. So we've got this real focus on Libra, that refinement, right? So the nodes will all be in the signs of Libra and Aries with these Libra side of the eclipses. So that refining, that purifying. Whereas the Aries moons, we've got moons happening either side of the Aries sign, as well as an almost full moon. So very much a more fluid energy, a more subtle energetic level that's really helping integrate the individual. Right, I think that's everything that I wanted to say. They just put the deck down very dramatically. So this is when I'm going to go quiet, guys. Because they're going to want to do some energy work, and then they're going to move the cards around in strange patterns, and then eventually put them into the 4 piles, and that's when I'll come back. I'll hold up a card, so if you want to fast forward, if you're watching this before I've managed to put in the timestamps, I will make sure that anything that comes up, any channeled messages that come through, I'll make sure I'll then repeat them while I'm reading the tarot. So you've just had the yang day side of the reading, right? The go, the stimulation, the extrovert side of it. You've had a lot of information thrown at you. Now's the yin night side. Now is the rest. We've had the action. Now we're resting, letting all that energy settle in, and digesting it. Also helping you soften your mind so you can see what intuitive hits come up. The nodes have been in these signs since the 17th of July. It's nearly 2 weeks now. And so you've had some time to sort of see what might have come up. Some of you, it might have come up very loudly. Others of you, it might not have done at all. Doesn't invalidate the experience. It's just we're all very different, right? But seeing what may have come up, and also getting intuitive hits of everything that I've just said to see how that may be showing up. You may have a little understanding of what that means for you on a personal level, and it's not just me all telling you what's going on, right? So, and then I'll come back round because when they move the cards around, I have to soften my mind and allow the energies to move through me. So it's a little difficult to channel, think and talk at the same time when I'm doing that. So that's when I go quiet. And then I will come back round and I'll incorporate the tarot with everything that's just been said, or maybe some new messages come through. Just clicking over my third eye. Some energy came out of the third eye and wanted to go on that charging stone. Okay, Gemini. Right, so all that came up, okay, maybe they're not finished yet. Right, all that really came up was some third eye energy came out. I was clicking around my third eye and that energy came out, went on a charging stone and went over the cards. So take that as what you will. For the North Node in Aries, we've got the 5 of Pentacles, the 2 of Wands, crowned by the Wheel of Fortune. Love this combination for hopes and dreams, right? It's sort of really acknowledging that there's things that have you're releasing, you're working through a certain energy, because the 5 of Pentacles feels like you're not supported, feels like you're left out in the cold, and that there isn't any help coming through. There's a sense of resilience to even being able to hope and dream again. I'm just sort of tapping on my heart chakra and further up the chest and now around the throat chakra. And not being able to express that. Okay, well, it's going with the throat, so it's making me think about Venus, where she's in your house of communication, that's facilitating an understanding of a clarity of moving through this energy. Okay, so not feeling supported, not feeling left out in the cold. Now this can turn up either some residual energy around this energy, in terms of how many times do you want to say energy, around the fact that so many of us can feel like our hopes and dreams don't have the support. We haven't been able to give them the support that they need. The outside world hasn't been able to give them the support. We felt like we haven't been able to do anything, and we've kind of been stuck in a lack mindset. Okay, they're just now tapping my forehead, around to the temples, back up to the forehead again. There's a resistance to change with the 5 of Pentacles as well, because we can get so stuck in that mindset that we're not able to even possibly contemplate outside of it, and so we sort of repeat those patterns of neglect. I'm also thinking about the fact that the South Node is in the 5th house of your inner child, of not feeling like your creative energy is being nourished in a way that is providing support for your hopes and your dreams, that can be based on your childhood, on limiting beliefs and trauma responses. The North Node's coming along and going, hey, we're going to shift that, we're going to change that. This may come up, these feelings may come up, but it's about it was coming with the 2 of Wands, which is about getting the lay of the land, right? Really understanding what your hopes and dreams mean to you. So this might show up, this might be either bringing up energy from the past linked into this, as well as situations coming up that feel like they're this. But they're actually not. They're actually really helping you get to a space of truly knowing from a very high advantage. You see this person, they are basically standing on the top of a castle and they're overlooking the land. They're a bit restless and they're wanting to go on an adventure, but this is long-term manifestation energy. This is about understanding in the depths of what's going on, and being able to transmute that, being able to understand where this energy's come from and be able to use that and switch it up. And like I said, high and long-term manifestation energies, getting very creative. You're getting very creative and you're brainstorming, right? This is brainstorming energy, of figuring out, okay, what are the small details? What do you truly want? What's really important to you? And it's being crowned with the Wheel of Fortune. This is a very positive card. This is Jupiter's card. And so Jupiter's currently going through your 12th house, your hidden house, your house of mysteries, uncovering magic. It's also going to go into your sign, Gemini, and that's going to then sextile the nodes of, like, there's going to be a shift of fate. Something is changing in order to facilitate your hopes and your dreams, and also the kind of groups and alliances that you're in, right? We're feeling left out in the cold, perhaps, in those groups and alliances. That there's a reevaluation of that dynamic, and there's a movement. There's a very fated energy. We're dealing with eclipses, which of course is very fated, but this is, a very positive card. It's wanting to move things up, right? Rather than that feeling of lack and feeling like you're not supported, the energy's coming through and letting you know that you are. It is just it's asking you to be in a state of observation of this new land that you're in. Okay, so there's been an exaggeration and amplification of in supportive energy to how you embody yourself, that this is asking you to spend time with these 3 new moons of like, we're going to have a freshness, a new thing coming in again and again and again, that is going to facilitate these hopes and dreams in the long run. But I'm just getting the feeling of like not necessarily rushing in straight away, that there's something that's going to come in that's more fated, that's potentially out of your control, that is going to have an impact in facilitating these things, that you don't necessarily have to control it, just spend time figuring out what it is that you want. So the energy of Pluto, now I forgot to mention, right? So you've got Cancer over in your 2nd house. I said I was going to swing back round to Cancer, of your resources. Okay, this is your values, what you value, how you value yourself, most importantly. This is the Cancer card. And it's the resources that you have in order to make your money, right? And this is squaring your hopes and dreams, as well as Capricorn, and where Pluto is over in the 8th house of the outside world's resources. So with Pluto being there, it very much feels like there's going to be support coming in, resources revealed that come from the outside world that are facilitating this new growth and understanding of who you are and how you value yourself. Having the bendings in the south bending in the Cancer area is letting go of limiting beliefs around how you value yourself and really being able to nourish yourself. I love the fact that we've got the Chariot and the 9 of Pentacles with the 4 of Cups in reverse. So this is really saying knowing yourself, knowing you have the resources you need. Also, because we're dealing with more the square with Capricorn, of resources coming in that help facilitate you be able to embody this confidence. This is the Victory card, right? This figure has the wand of the magician, the moons of the high priestess, the crown of the empress, the background of the emperor, the lingam and the yoni of and the wings of spirit of the lover's card. There aren't any reins to the yin and the yang of the sphinxes. This is embodying the resources that you have around you in order to move through the world, the good, the bad and the ugly, and not get shaken off your path. So very empowering energy, coming with the 9 of Pentacles, resources being dug up, you being able to make decisions based on your surroundings, based on the opportunities that are provided to you, 8th house, of this give and take between you and the outside world, of making decisions that are serving you in the long term, that are helping get you to this state of abundance, whatever that looks for you. This is about very independent energy, making and being clear in the decisions that you're making. A lot of confidence, a lot of victory in heading to this direction. With the 4 of Cups in reverse, now the 4 upright, very stagnant energy, looking at the 3 of Cups, thinking, oh, where's my harmony? Where's all the joy in my life? And it's comparison is the thief of joy, forgetting the fact that you have the Ace of Cups within you. In reverse is saying it's shaking off this comparison, right? With that, Pluto in the 8th house can bring up fears around what other people have, and feeling disappointed in what you don't have. And by comparing, you get very limited in your scope, right? So this is all pointing that is breaking away those fears that have been blocking you from being able to move through the world independently and not compare yourself to the outside world and not seek those resources and know that you have them within you. And by doing so, you're opening up the opportunities to come through from the 8th house, because this is raising up your ability to bring your creative energy and your hopes and dreams, and utilize the resources of the outside world in a very positive way. For the Libra South Node, we have the 8 of Swords, the Death card, Justice, and crowning it, we've got another reversal, which I'm enjoying. We've got the 5 of Wands. Okay, so Eight of Swords. Blockages around your creative energy. That this is often called being trapped in the cage of your own making, okay? Because this figure is able to move, and then when she moves, she's going to be those binds are going to shake off her, and she's going to be able to remove the blindfold. She thinks she's in a cage, but she's not. It's about realizing that everything is an illusion, and that we are able to transform our mental state, the way that we understand our creativity. For you here with Libra in the 5th house, the things that bring you joy. This can be limiting beliefs and trauma responses, addictions that may have blocked your ability to be free. And particularly because we're dealing with the Death card as well, it can be like your inner child trapped in a dynamic that no longer serves you. Blockages around how you view your creativity that is very limiting when in fact you are free. It's coming with the Death card. I love the Death card. There's so much going on. What I always like to point out though is, look here. The king is, the monarch is no longer with us, right? So this, you're protected here. There's purity coming in and the sun is rising up. This is about letting go of something. And this is representing an authority. There's something in your life that's had authority over you that hasn't served you, that hasn't nourished you and hasn't led you to victory, right? And so when the Death card comes along with the 8 of Swords, is saying we are letting go of those limiting beliefs that have blocked you from being able to express yourself. Doubly confirmed by the fact that we've got the Libra card come in with the 5 of Wands. We've got Lady Justice bringing things into balance, karmic contracts coming up, a sense of equity and fairness, of being able to see the truth, being able to see reality. We can have our realities distorted so much. That 8 of Swords is very much a distorted reality. And now Lady Justice is coming in saying, I'm making sure things are coming into balance. I'm making sure you're able to see how to embody that creative energy with clarity and understanding and knowing your worth and what you have to offer. And it's really highlighted by this card. Like, even though this is major arcana, the symbolism of it's quite loud. This is chaos energy, right? This is nothing's quite, your passions, your creative energy isn't quite moving forward. You feel like you're in competition with everybody else. That could be with the Aries in the 11th house of feeling like everybody else in the group is a competition with you. That this is a sense of clearing out that energy, right? Clearing out you're not necessarily getting going with anything. Like, everything's all a bit discordant. You may have lots of different creative ideas or lots of different passions, and they haven't really been able to get anywhere or go anywhere or do anything. And in reverse, this is a release of that tension, a release of that inability to get that motivation to instigate and actually commit to it, right? So you've got a big change in how you're hoping and how you're dreaming. It's not necessarily what the dreams are, but how you embody that and how you understand that. You've got a lot of support of confidence coming in, of making sure you're not comparing yourself to the outside world. And here we're going, well, you're not in comparison. You're not competing with the outside world. There is peace here, but it's in balance, right? It's in balance with acknowledging that you have something to offer, and that you are no longer being, you're working through difficulties that have previously trapped you, that have caused like things not necessarily getting going and manifesting. So how this energy is manifesting moving forward. We've got the Queen of Swords and the Ace of Cups crowned by the 5 of Wands. So the Queen of Swords, clarity and understanding, being able to speak your truth. Okay, she's been through some stuff. With all the court cards with the swords, they've all got little birds at the top, which is saying a higher perspective is coming in, an understanding and clarity of having gone through some troubles. You now know which direction to go in. You're able to nourish your creativity. You're able to nourish your hopes and dreams with purpose, right? You know, the Queen of Swords can be a bit jaded, but her hand is outstretched. She's willing to open herself up to the future. She's moving forward, and bringing it in with the Ace of Cups. Love this combination. This sense of emotional connection to your creativity, a sense of peace, a sense of abundance and overflow with the clarity. Okay, so really being able to nourish your hopes and dreams, nourish your ideas, nourish your thoughts, nourish that mental space with peace, with emotional command, with emotional renewal. It's with the Four of Wands. This is an element of celebration, but it's about putting in the hard work as well, right? So this is linked into the harvest, and they're all having a celebration because the harvests come in. They've all put in the effort. Takes a year to get the harvest going, and then you're starting the process again. It's grueling work, but it's worth it, and you're working with like-minded people as well. So I kind of like that, bringing in the friends groups and alliances, that there's some element of collaboration going on, that requires hard work, but there's dedication. There's nothing wrong with hard work, and you're able to celebrate. There's a sense of commitment. You're able to, instead of this Five of Wands where there's chaos energy and it's quite hard to commit, now there's an energy of you want to commit to the longer term cycles of your, how to embody those hopes and dreams, and how to bring your creative spark of life within that. Okay, I love that for you, Gemini. Okay, oh no, I think they want to do some work. It's gone over my heart chakra. I'm going to pull some clarification cards. Let's see what wants to come through. Whoa, adventure. Love that. That wasn't well, with the Chariot actually. I was just thinking this is a new message that's coming in. You're going on a new adventure in the way that you express yourself and understand your creativity, and it's going to be fun, right? Even though it's hard work, it's still going to be fun. You know, we can have the balance of that. But I really like that that's coming out the other side of saying this is very inspirational and creative energy, right? There's a flow, there's an ease, there isn't these blockages, there isn't a sense of lack. You've got a lot of support that's going to be helping facilitate the next part of the cycle. We're going to be moving into Pisces and Virgo, and that's going to be around your career, right? That's going to be around your life purpose after the next 18 months. But this is how this energy is manifesting in terms of your hopes and your dreams. You're seeing that as an adventure rather than feeling that lack, right? You're able to break out of that Eight of Swords. You're not trapped in a cage. There's a sense of expansion happening here through this very supportive energy. That was a numerology deck. This is the First Light Tarot. All the decks are in the description box. Let's see what wants to come through for Gemini for this nodal shift into strategy. Okay, that's sort of doubly confirming that Two of Wands energy of being mindful. Like, really give yourself time. You know, this is a longer part cycle to get to that adventure, right? Don't rush it. Allow yourself to be inspired and see what inspires you. And then through that, you don't have to necessarily commit to anything, but just allow yourself to be in flow, okay? Allow yourself to feel it in your body, and how you're inspired to get that going. So like that was a double confirmation with that strategy, because Aries and Libra, cardinal, yang day, they want to instigate, right? They want to go, 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 go. So this is saying, hey, we've had Jupiter move through Aries, so we've got a little bit more wisdom there of slowing down, of just being, get your thinking cap on, right, Gemini? Don't worry, you're not going to miss out on anything. That Wheel of Fortune, that's a big fated energy, and no regrets. Okay, we've got self-discipline. I like it. I like it, especially with these cards, because it is really saying there's a level of maturity with the Queen of Swords and the Four of Wands, of this dedication. Like, it is about putting in the hard work and commitment, and through that you're going to get deep emotional renewal. There's a sense of peace here because you are dedicated with yourself. Like, you're confident. That emotional reward of the Cancer energy in your how you value yourself. There's a sense of your cup runneth over now, that is providing creative energy as well, very creative, imaginative, from a place of peace. Okay, right, I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you, Gemini, for being here. I appreciate your time and your energy. That was a fun reading. I really like these two reversals. I really like that a lot. And yeah, just giving you a sense of calm. And yeah, be mindful of being burnt out, and enjoy the ride, Gemini, because this is it's a good transit. It's a good transit. And yeah, if you resonated, don't forget to hit the like button. All interaction on the channel helps the algorithm and the channel grow, so it's very appreciated. But don't do it for me. If you feel like doing it, do it. I love to hear from you about the astro weather, so do drop me a line and I'll get back to you. It's one of my favorite things. Be good to yourself, Gemini. Be good to those around you, and most importantly, be well until we meet again.